The program that you're about to hear contains material that may be offensive to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Go ahead. Make my day.
2, 1, 0.
Hello and welcome to Right and Writer, the official podcast of the Washington Free Beacon, sponsored by HoneyBook. I'm your host, Elizabeth Harrington. You can follow me on Twitter at LizWFB. The Free Beacon podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a review. Joining me from the right today is Free Beacon Editor-in-Chief Matthew Cottonetti. You may remember him from such mainstream media programs as the Ezra Klein Show and the Area 45 podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Cottonetti. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Liz.
And further to Matt's right is Free Beacon President Aaron Harrison, who has also been completely vindicated of all wrongdoing. We're not exactly sure what he does around the office besides the checks, and that's good enough for us. Hello, Harrison.
I've been unplugged for the past couple of days.
Really?
Has anything happened?
No.
We'll discuss
Since
that.
our last show.
We'll fill you in a second.
And returning to the program today is the chairman of the Free Beacon, Michael Goldfarb, international man of mystery and licensed Republican consultant. He always keeps our panelists in line. Hello, Goldfarb.
Good to be back, Liz.
Good to have you back. Up first on Right and Writer. Surprise, surprise, the special counsel's report is in. And just as President Trump has been saying all along, there was no collusion after spending 2 years enlisting 19 lawyers and 40 FBI agents, issuing 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, and interviewing 500 witnesses, and costing us at least $25 million. They have nothing to show for it except countless Trump associates with mounting legal bills and their reputations in shambles, all because of an expensive cover-up operation of the Obama Justice Department using Russian disinformation to spy on their political opponents, and then spreading said information to their allies in the media who, useful idiots that they are, dutifully accuse the duly elected President of the United States of treason every night on cable news. The New York Times reports now on the, quote, disappointed fans of Mueller who are rethinking the shrine they built for him. But oddly, they aren't talking about themselves and doesn't mention the media, which ran 533,074 stories and counting on this legal coup attempt. Matt, will anyone be held accountable?
This is DC, so no. But this is a great moment for Donald Trump. But I think it is a reboot of his presidency. I don't think that this will end. The controversies won't end, and especially the controversies coming from that Southern District of New York investigation that was spun off from the Mueller report, and all the other various activist states attorneys generals who are looking into Donald Trump. They're going to continue to do so. But to think that the Democrats and the media really spent 2 years trying to portray Trump as a Russian agent and then have their hero, Robert Mueller, come and say he found no proof of that at all is a huge win for Trump. It coincides, by the way, with the elimination of ISIS in Syria,
right,
and continued good economic news. So if he has a spring in his step, it's absolutely deserved.
Harrison?
You know, somebody really laid this out beautifully for me. The only way that Trump could do better than he has in the past 72 hours is to go buy a Powerball ticket and then win the damn thing. The dude is on such a heater right now.
Yeah, he's on a high win streak.
Everything is coming up. Trump 2020 is looking real good right now. And if you look at this stupid investigation,
it's such a farce.
Everybody is saying that there was no collusion. Okay? Well, Trump has said that from day one. But I have another opinion. There was collusion. Collusion was proved through this investigation. Collusion occurred between the media, the Democratic Party, and the deep state.
Yes.
That is
John
collusion.
Brennan with CNN and then BuzzFeed printing the whole thing. But from day one,
this is
working together.
This is the cabal that has refused to accept the results of the 2016 election. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about really what they were saying by telling us that Russia interfered with our election. Well, how did Russia interfere with our election? Did they hack into the voting machines? Did they change results? Did they pack ballot boxes with phony numbers through hacking? Nobody has ever said that, and that is really the only way that you could affect the actual outcome of an election fraudulently in this country. What they are saying is that Russia put forth a bunch of Twitter trolls to influence these stupid Americans who then went out on their own volition and voted for President Trump.
Exactly.
What are we talking about? We're talking about Twitter?
Yeah.
Twitter?
No.
The only people that
memes.
think Twitter runs this country are the idiots in the press who live on Twitter.
I love the social media campaign to sow discord. Who has sown more discord than the mainstream media this entire time? Goldfarb?
I mean, I kind of just want to yield my time back to Harrison.
That's what the fans want. Come on.
For more takes on this. The whole way you had this feeling that Mueller could go either way. I mean, any reasonable person looking at it, the guy doesn't talk. He doesn't say a word. Everybody knew Manafort was kind of a crook. That wasn't some major revelation.
Yeah, nothing to do with
there was some
purpose of the investigation.
Scumbag hangers-on the Trump campaign. I don't think anybody really believed that there could be collusion. It's just not in Trump's nature to collude with people. He's not a colluder.
Exactly. He runs his own messaging. He runs everything, you know?
Now, look, Mueller, he's friends with Comey. Nobody really knows. He's kind of a black box. I mean, nobody really knew what to expect. But it's not shocking that he came out and gave a pretty clinical, tight report that focused on the people that he indicted, and that was that. In retrospect, it seems quite reasonable, but they got totally ahead of themselves, and now they have put Trump in a position where you have to have the fucking New York Times, the banner headline saying no collusion.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I do wonder how many subscribers they're going to lose over that thing, but it's a shocking moment now.
Well, they'll just pivot to saying, oh, this is about transparency. We need to see the full report. We need to go through this thing line by line so we can extrapolate anything that our imagination leads us to.
They didn't accept the results of the election. They're now not going to accept the results of this report that they've been piping for so long.
I do kind of feel like,
and they never accept the results of any of these democratic institutions that are supposedly being destroyed by Trump.
These follow-on investigations from SDNY and whoever else, I mean, there is kind of a witch hunt air about this. They're just looking for a crime. I mean, that's not supposed to be how the justice system works. I don't doubt they'll find one.
No.
The Trump organization surely has committed some error of misdemeanor or worse level at some point. But the truth is, if you unleash the SDNY on pretty much anybody, they're going to find something.
Speaking of which, up next, Michael Avenatti's losing streak continues as he was arrested for operating a good old-fashioned shakedown, trying to extort Nike for $25 million. Investigations in New York and California also led to charges of bank fraud as federal prosecutors say Avenatti paid no personal income taxes for 2011, 2012, and 2013 and paid no estimated taxes in 2012 and 2013. Harrison, it's almost as if everything they accuse Trump of doing, they themselves are guilty of.
What I find so striking about this entire process over the last 2 years is that we have spent countless millions of dollars and countless man hours investigating the president of the United States that yielded 0 indictments at the very end. Well, I should say one indictment was yielded out of this whole thing. Michael Avenatti, the Southern District, finally stepped up and said, okay, well, we need to show something for all of these efforts, even if it's possibly unrelated. But who would have predicted that the one person that's indicted at the end of the whole Mueller investigation is Michael Avenatti? For not only that, but for the crimes that he was accusing the president without evidence of.
It's amazing.
Tax fraud,
it's always
tax evasion, wire fraud, freaking what else we got out there? Embezzlement, more fraud with what was he doing? He was faking that he was representing clients, and then he was taking the money that they were giving him and pocketing it to pay off all of his debts.
Yeah.
This was the guy that they gave 24/7 news coverage. They gave him the hotline to every cable station in this country to show up on a moment's notice and give him a full-on hearing.
They made this guy.
Uncritical interviews. The only critical interview that this guy ever saw in his 6 months of fame was with Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Matt? No?
Matt
Goldfarb.
yields.
He yields his time.
The Avenatti thing, it's just amazing sort of psychological profile of a kind of guy who's not paid his taxes and decides he's going to do 300 cable news hits, going after the president for not disclosing his taxes. I mean, what kind of sociopath does that?
Yeah.
How, the balls on this guy to put himself at the center of the national debate. And then, of course, he gets away with it for a year and becomes the celebrity. And all of a sudden, he thinks he's going to go in and bully a Fortune 100 company. I mean, I'm just impressed by it in a way. I'm impressed by the fearlessness, but it's insanity. And I think Trump draws out this insanity in people because Trump has, for his whole career, been sort of pushing at the limits, at the boundaries of what you can really get away with in business. But Trump's obviously a very smart guy. He obviously has some sense of where the limits are. But people like Avenatti watch him and think, well, anybody can get away with anything. And you can't.
Right. All right. Up next, President Trump officially recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, signing a proclamation at the White House. Israel Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu told Trump, Israel has never had a better friend than you. And the president reiterated that America's relationship with our ally is powerful. Quote, we will confront the poison of anti-Semitism, Trump said. Matt, so much winning.
It was a great moment for Bibi Netanyahu, who really wanted this proclamation. I think it helps Israeli security. And it continues Donald Trump's record of support for Israel, which has been strong
Unmatched,
and
really.
really unmatched.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'd say there's a couple things to think about. One is there's a risk that all of these pro-Israel moves are the preface to a deal of the century that might actually ask Israel to make some tough accommodations. And I think that would be a danger, especially in advance of the 2020 election, for this reason. Having been at AIPAC just briefly yesterday, there's a sense in support for Israel and the pro-Israel community at home that the Democratic Party is rapidly sliding into the column of Ilhan Omar.
Right.
And if the Democrats nominate someone who shares her views, i.e. Bernie Sanders, the front runner, I think there's an opportunity for Trump to capture a much larger proportion of the Jewish vote than he did in 2016 and than even Republicans in recent elections have done. So you should be wary about pushing too hard for this deal of the century that I know he wants because of his ambitions. But also he should see the political opportunity here that is really just lying on the table.
Harrison?
Well, I just want to commend the IDF real quick because they are the best in the world at releasing video of their airstrikes. I can't get enough of that stuff. And to Matt's point, I think Matt brings up a very good word of caution when we're dealing with these high-level negotiations for such an important issue. I do think that, if your enemy state of Hamas ceases to exist, then what is there to concede?
Excellent point. Goldfarb.
No, I mean, I watched this yesterday, him and Bibi with this eating grin on his face. And you just had this feeling that, as a right-wing Jew, it's really not going to get any better than this. This is going to be like a high water mark for some time. It was just a wonderful thing to behold. Of course, it's ultimately meaningless on some level. I mean, they've occupied the Golan Heights for, 40, 50 years now. That's not going to change anytime soon. But I think this is could be the opening of a trend. I would like to see further recognitions, of things that are reality, and then maybe things that ought to be reality. It's there's a lot of places in the world where boundaries are not the way they should be, and the United States ought to take the lead in recognizing boundaries as they ought to be and not necessarily as they are.
Right now, it's time to check in with our sponsor, HoneyBook. If you run a creative business, you know how to make your clients look good. But if you're struggling with tedious administrative tasks, let HoneyBook do the work and make you look good. HoneyBook is an online business management tool that lets you control your client communication, bookings, contracts, and invoices all in one place. If you're a creative freelancer or small business owner, HoneyBook helps you stay organized with custom templates and automation tools. You can even use HoneyBook to consolidate services you already use, like QuickBooks, Google Suite, and MailChimp. Right now, HoneyBook is offering our listeners 50% off your first year with promo code WFB. Payment is flexible, and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. Go to honeybook.com and use promo code WFB for 50% off your first year. Get paid faster and work smarter with honeybook.com, promo code WFB. Now it's time to check in with our noted pop culture expert, Cassie Schur. Hello, Cassie.
Hi there, Liz.
What's going on?
So much exciting stuff is happening
Oh,
in the
yeah?
world. Yeah. So, up first, the Spice Girls reunion tour might be a little spicier than we imagined.
Oh, really?
Yes. Mel B, more commonly known as Scary Spice, recently revealed that she had sex with Jerry, Ginger Spice.
Scary.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And she says this, and when she admitted it, she said, Jerry and her husband are going to kill me for admitting this, but it was just very playful, and we had a little sex.
Nice. This is like, I think when the Spice Girls hit the big time, I was like right in my prime fantasy years. And this is exactly what I envisioned.
What you were hoping would
when
happen.
I was like 16 years old.
But
This
that's
is
not
trying to get
Victoria.
people like you. They're just trying
This
to sell
isn't
more
Victoria
tickets.
Beckham.
Oh,
She
no,
was
no.
a
She
different one.
wouldn't.
No,
Right.
but she is the the godmother of Ginger Spice's children.
Oh, it was the redhead one?
The redhead one.
Goldfarb is showing he
ginger.
has visual aids on his Google image search. Thanks, Goldfarb.
She is groping her in the photo too.
They were
so-
something. How long did they last? They didn't last that long.
About
No.
7 minutes.
Yeah, they last. Well, I'm not.
About 3 or 4 years.
They flew very close to the sun.
Pretty good run.
Ginger Spice was the first one to drop out, and then they disbanded. But
Right, but they've had such a following kind of since, though, you know.
yeah, and now they have their reunion tour, and things are going great. But
I think this is just
now
a
it's
ploy
going to
to
be
sell
awkward.
tickets.
Well, Scary Spice also said that she made out with Sporty Spice so she could test out her new tongue ring
Three-way.
back when
You
she
know,
got it done.
Sporty Spice, I could definitely see that happening. I was a little shocked. to
Just
see
because
that
she
it was
wore
Ginger.
Adidas doesn't mean anything.
I was always a Baby Spice guy.
Oh, yeah.
That was my
that
number
was-
one, and then I think Ginger was number 2.
Wait,
And,
which one was
Baby
Victoria?
was- Baby
number
was
What
the
was
blonde.
her?
Posh
Yeah, Baby
Spice.
was
Oh,
the
she
blonde.
was Posh Spice,
Yeah,
obviously.
Posh was my
Posh
number
is-
3 because she
Really?
never seemed like she talked or sang. She just kind of looked
What's wrong
like
with that?
super
kind of
She just looked
emoted.
fierce
Yeah,
all the
she
time.
mugged.
right.
Sporty Spice.
That's sporty.
Oh, she's back. That's
Thumbs
not
up.
Sporty Spice. No, that is fake news. You're showing me a fake picture. That is not her.
Harrison knows his
I like those
spices.
pictures.
Well, whoever he found is pretty impressive.
So, yeah, what else is going on?
Next generation Spice. I like it.
So next up, after the HBO documentary about Elizabeth Holmes and her thriving company of Theranos,
Yeah.
there have been a lot of articles kind of reviewing her demeanor on the documentary.
She, like, lowered her voice, right?
So there's a women's
weird.
health article about how she gave herself a vocal fry, which is when you lower your voice and try to sound more authoritative.
I can't handle everything about her when I watch this documentary.
Yeah, and
it's
they
so
say-
strange.
Was it good?
No, that's what I've been doing for
it's-
15 years. This
Is
is not my actual speaking voice.
that why you sound
know?
so smart all the
That's-
time?
No, right. That's not. When I go home, I sound completely different.
According
True.
to doctors,
And you've built this thriving
Yeah.
company.
Well, it's a lot of practice.
well, according to doctors, you're going to have strained vocal cords.
Okay, I'll drink a lot of tea with honey and lemon.
But so what's up with the eyes?
The eyes. So there's also a lot of discussion about why she appears to not blink during the documentary. And scientists say that people who don't blink are lying. But then when they are done lying, they blink very rapidly, which is what happens to her the entire time. She's
Yeah.
creeping us out.
Yeah,
They're just called crazy eyes.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, they're really big and they're wide open the whole time. And
Well, we've discussed Elizabeth Holmes on this show before, and
Have
I've always
we?
thought, yeah, we were a couple, dozen episodes ago.
I think he's confusing this with his science podcast.
Yeah, so,
Because you were an
covered it in
early investor in Theranos, weren't you?
listen, let's not go into my financials. I think that's private. But when you're dealing with Elizabeth Holmes, you've got the
being
crazy
audited.
eyes and you've got the crazy hair. Like that was my take on her, is that her hair was
and
always
the
messed up.
turtlenecks that cover up the crazy neck.
And people with messed up hair
Steve Jobs-esque.
are typically insane. Now they can be like insane geniuses. I mean, you saw like Albert Einstein, crazy ass hair, but crazy genius, right?
Sure.
And Elizabeth Holmes, crazy mastermind, Bond villain type, and then you had like Charles Manson, crazy psycho killer, crazy hair.
Yeah, it's a good
Look at
link.
the hair.
It's science. Was there anything else?
I think that's all I have
That's
for you
all
today,
you have?
guys.
All right. Thanks, Cassie.
Was the documentary any good?
It's okay. It's kind of like a lot of filler. It's like a lot of music and the same shots over and over. It's like
A
get
lot
to the
of
point.
good B-roll.
Yeah.
Her just walking around.
Yeah, it's like
I have a
we get it.
documentary recommendation,
Oh,
which is the
yes, Matt.
CNN Nixon documentary, Tricky Dick.
Good.
Excellent. And the
Really?
reason is it's told entirely in archival video, film, and audio.
Oh, nice.
So he's actually narrating it.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty cool.
Favorite
Yeah, we don't
president.
want it filtered through CNN.
I'm going to put that in my Netflix queue right after the Motley Crue documentary,
Yeah,
The Dirt.
that also I'm looking forward to.
All right. Up first in our culture round, bingo and bongs. More seniors use marijuana. The Associated Press reports an upscale old folks home, retirement community, takes bus trips of 70 and 8-year-olds to trendy pot dispensaries for seniors, where they eat a light lunch, play a few games of bingo, and select their next month's supply of cannabis-infused products. Quote, it's like the ultimate senior experience, said 76-year-old retired beauty products distributor Ron Atkin. People aged 65 and over are the fastest growing segment of the marijuana using population. And 70-year-old Adele Fraschella says she quit smoking when she was 19, but took it up again a few years ago and bought a Volcano high-tech bong. Matt, these are just old hippies.
You know, and what,
hippies got old.
more power to them. You know, I mean, they're of age, yeah, and they got, what else do they have to do? They're retired. You know, they're
Spread sexually transmitted diseases around
well
the
when
old folks
in the
home.
old folks home. But you know, I have no problem with this whatsoever. It's something to do.
It livens up the
and
bingo.
it makes them feel happier.
Yeah.
Fine.
Harrison?
Look, I am concerned about the medical consequences of smoking marijuana.
I mean, we
when
talked
you're that
about it just
age.
on Friday.
Look, the shortness of breath, the actual smoke carcinogens that contaminate the lungs of these frail, elderly people, I'm concerned about. I think they should be vaping the marijuana and not smoking it. That is
That's a good tip.
That is a medical opinion.
Goldfarb.
I'm not an expert on this, but I think the Volcano is actually a vaping device.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's high tech, they said.
Yeah, I just heard that
Yeah.
at some point
Interesting.
in the past.
All right. Up next, Dogfish Head and Kodak are teaming up to create a beer that can also develop film. The new sour German-style wheat beer features 8 main ingredients and can also be used to process Kodak's Super 8 motion picture film. Early batches of the beer were sent to Kodak to begin development, and a series of tests were done, and they successfully proved that Super 8 can act as a film developer. Harrison, we still don't have flying cars, but we have a hipster beer that acts as a thrift store camera.
Look, I'm a little perplexed by
future.
this story because
Me too.
as back in the day,
They don't really explain how.
well, I was an amateur photographer.
How do you
back in
take
the
the?
day.
You're an amateur photographer.
Yeah, back in the day, look, I took some courses, and I've got some of my artwork that is displayed gloriously on the internet under anonymous accounts, mostly on 4chan, some Reddit, and then some other websites, which I would recommend using a VPN and
ExpressVPN, no longer a sponsor, but we're still fans.
Yes, exactly. Good it's excellent protection. Look, you
They
should,
finally listened to the show.
I always
So
recommend.
we get 2 weeks, and then it's like, oh, moving on.
Our grace period.
I
We'll always have Calm.
we always Calm is a loyal sponsor, and it's helped. I think it's helped a lot of us with our sleep problems.
Yeah, sure, certainly.
So Yes, I as an amateur photographer back in the day, I was always taught that the chemicals that they use to develop film are some of the most toxic substances on the planet. You do not drink or huff or inhale or light on fire and then smoke the fumes of any of the chemicals that are used in the photo lab.
Yeah, this is dangerous.
This sounds inherently dangerous. I want the FDA on this case immediately. That said, if it gets you f***ed up, I've always had a hard time coming out against it.
Gold Farb.
I'm so confused. They're developing film in beer?
Yeah,
Right. I don't understand. How does it work? Do you take a photo with the film?
I don't know. They
Do we
just
even
said
have
they sent it to
film
a
cameras
lab.
anymore?
No, I don't know.
Or
Honestly,
can you
the
take
article
the photo?
didn't
Can you
explain it, and I didn't have
expose the
time
film
to research it more.
through the beer? Do you like hold the film up next to your glass, and then you can take a picture of?
I don't know, but it's Super 8 film. Do you know anything about that, Sonny?
A lot of his home movies, I
Yeah,
think, used to be
snuff
shot on
films.
those.
I don't know anything about this. I would assume when you take the pictures and you put it in like the water.
Yeah.
And I would assume that it's just some sort of solution that's like that.
So they just put it in beer.
I don't know.
But you have to take the
makes
pictures
sense.
first.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
who's-
the
who
film
does
stock.
that?
The film. Well, they're talking about film.
Oh, an
so
actual
Right, it's not just
photographer.
pictures.
So Super 8 is like the lo-fi stuff.
And then
that
you can
see.
drink the beer afterward.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
Sounds safe to me.
this is weird.
Finally. You may have been eating Nazi donuts if you like Krispy Kreme. It turns out that the family that owns the donut maker, as well as Keurig, Dr. Pepper, and Panera Bread, say their Nazi ancestors used slave labor during World War II. The Ryman family said they will donate $11 million to charity after revealing Albert Ryman Sr. and Albert Ryman Jr., both now deceased, used Russian civilian prisoners and French prisoners of war as forced labor in their factories during the war, and that they were anti-Semites and avowed supporters of Adolf Hitler, CNN reports. Goldfarb, maybe the money can go to rescue more fat rats out of sewer drains.
You know, I read this thing. I was just shocked by it. Like, there's this attempt by the family to, like, get ahead of it. Like, we funded the research, and we put it out there, and now we're going to put $11 million into an undetermined
Yeah, they
charity,
didn't say.
and it's going to be all good. And I'm kind of flabbergasted. Like, what the am I supposed to do with my Keurig now? And
Get the drip pour over coffee that you were making
what
fun of
appalls
mine
me the most
yesterday.
about it is like their attempt to be like they're good and like they've separated themselves from this and they're being transparent and they're doing the right thing. F that. It's fucking disgusting. And like these people, when you read the story, it's not like, oh well, you know, they did the salute, you know, in 1937. No, they were with like Hitler at the beer hall putsch. They were there from the fucking beginning. It's really bad, and these fucking companies are everywhere.
Yeah, they own a lot.
La Pret Menagerie, whatever the that is, Krispy Kreme. It's like the entire DuPont circle is Nazi owned.
I have nothing to add to that.
Do you like Krispy Kreme, Harrison?
I do like Krispy
Not
Kreme.
anymore.
I've always been a Dunkin' Donuts guy.
Yeah.
I just want to say that. up
Yeah.
I'm not sure that like I don't know where the closest Krispy Kreme is. Back in the day, it used to-
DuPont.
It's the one that was.
Yeah, it is
you think
DuPont.
you think I'm a guy that goes to DuPont Circle? Do I really look like a guy that like likes to hang out?
Hey,
and
Elizabeth
stroll
Holmes
around.
is-
I don't know who
spotted
you're
there,
meeting
too.
on those 4chans.
How they come up with $11 million? How
think
is
a
that
lot
the
of-
price?
Right. That was my.
Where does that
question.
come from? $11 million.
Yeah,
It's
it
weird.
seems kind
It
of
seems
low,
low.
right?
Yeah, it seems low.
It seems way low.
Well, it's probably just the beginning if we know anything about boycott campaigns against giant corporations that have
But I
millions
haven't really
of
seen much
investors.
about this.
Well, I think
They're
it's
not
just
gonna-
starting. I mean, honestly, I think this is going to be one of these like perpetual viral stories that we see that pops up every 6 months. We're just going to see, oh, Dr. Pepper, which is one of the companies owned by Nazis, and then that'll go viral, and then everything will go away, and then 6 months later, it's going to be they'll just pick one of these 35 companies.
What was the original company?
I don't.
Krispy Kreme.
I'm not sure.
Big early Nazi.
It's like Einstein Bagels.
Was
is
Keurig
another one of them.
their name? Is that
No, the family's name is Ryman.
Yeah, they have like one of those like
It's
initials,
it's like a
SA.
weird, yeah.
So it's an industrial conglomerate.
Yes.
that owns all of them.
Yeah, it's like WPP or one of the other
You know
ones.
what?
They got hundreds
Sick
of companies.
Liz Warren on them. Break it up. Let's break it up.
She will destroy everything in her wake.
As soon as Ilhan Omar shows up on the House floor eating Krispy Kreme,
that is
then
smoking
Warren's going to
gun.
flip.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's edition of Right and Writer. I'd like to give a special thanks to our producer, LB4, and of course our free weekend guests, Matthew Continetti, Aaron Harrison, Michael Goldfarb, and Cassie Schur. Remember, find us on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Just search for Free Beacon. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and leave a positive review. Like listener KG Martin, who says, Right and Writer is by far the best political podcast going. Harrison is incisive and hilarious. Continetti is a superb writer. But the real MVP is Liz. I even listen to Hacks and Hacks because she's on it. Until next time.